It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
I'm 44, so
And obese.
still a young pup.
He is obese, yes. Just learned today at the doctor's office.
My doctor told me today that I'm obese.
Tell them that story.
So
real quick.
I went to the doctor today for a checkup and walked in, and they do all the tests and stuff. They're
Turn your
checking
head
me
and
out.
cough and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
They're like, all right. He's like, well, everything looks real good. Like your blood pressure, your heart rate, this and that. You seem really fit, except technically you're obese. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you're 193 pounds or 193 and you're like 5'10" and this and you're 44. He's like, yeah, you're obese. He's like, but the obesity scale doesn't really consider like fitness or muscles. So you're probably doing all right. I'm just supposed to tell you, I'm
That's
like,
crazy. I'm considered obese as well.
it's crazy.
Height with muscle mass, the weight, the BMI system is a little.
So he was humbled today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's been really confident. I look good. I feel good. And then his doctor,
By the way, you're
physician, is like,
obese.
by the
Yeah.
way, you're obese and you need to change things.
Well, I have put on like 5 pounds since I got back from Canada.
Canada, because you lost it all.
Yeah. And it's not muscle.
No.
It's just, it's Haagen-Dazs. So
It happens.
yeah. I'll get it back. I'm still, we've been hitting the gym.
He's
putting up some weights.
still putting thrusters up and doing overheads and squats and cleans and all this stuff. Like he literally walked in the gym and we were talking about it and he was like feeling pretty weak, and then he goes and grabs like 345 plates and like just squats that like nobody's business, grabs a couple like 45s and starts doing some overheads, some thrusters and some cleans, and I'm just like, so you feeling pretty weak, Brian? He's like, no, actually, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good,
It's funny, like you were talking about this earlier today when we were down in the gym. I feel like you leave for a while and you come back and I don't feel that good. But then
Comes back quick.
It comes back quick after a couple of days in the gym, and I'm like, I actually feel really strong and mobile. But when I first come back to the gym, I feel really stiff. And
Is it usually like the first workout or 2 workouts?
Yes.
Yep. Same with me every single time. Like I need like a good flush. Like, so if I go on like a big hunt and I come back and I know, like typically I can't just jump into a hard pro practice because it just destroys me. I'm sore. I can't move for like 2 weeks after that. So I have to do some type of flush workout where it's like running and circuit training with weights.
yeah.
To where I can control how hard I need to go just for that one workout back. And then after that, I'm good to go and I jump right in and go balls to the wall. But
That's how it is for me too, and it's even more as I've gotten older, more important that I ease back in over the course of a week or so, and I focus a lot on sleep. If you want to give me a backpack and have me hike 10 miles, 15 miles in one day round trip with a heavy load, yeah, dude, I'm good. I can go and go and go and go, and that's not a problem. But that's a whole different ballgame. Like, especially upper body strength. I get back from a month of hunting in the backcountry, and I'm struggling with like handstand push-ups and thrusters and presses, and all of that's just gone. Lower body, and even like a complex, weightlifting movement like a snatch or a clean and jerk, I do pretty. For some reason, that doesn't disappear too fast. But if it's a press, like a strict overhead press, dude, I feel like a weenie. Like I can't. I'm like struggling with low weight, and it just doesn't want to move. And
well,
that
you're not
takes a
typically
while.
doing much of that type of movement in the backcountry hiking, or most of it's weight on your legs.
It is, and that's
Your
why I
hips,
think
your legs, lower back.
like core and legs stay pretty strong throughout the whole season. But it's like if I want to maintain a certain level of upper body strength, if I take too long off, man, I'm not zero. I'm really starting low. It's like, it's pretty pathetic. Then you go hang out with like a Matt Davis and he's cranking out like mass push-ups and bench
He's all
press,
about that
and
powerlifting stuff though, man.
He's an
Like
animal.
Matt doesn't not ever do leg day. You know, he's always squat.
The things that he and I both do religiously is deadlifts, squats, of all different variations, front, back, low back, whatever. I do a lot more weightlifting than like cleans and snatch movements. But so we all move the barbell. He and I both move the barbell. What he does more of though is a lot more strict presses of all sorts. And, it's something I need to work on. It's boring though.
So when you're doing, Chad, when you're kind of doing your camps and you're preparing for these, you know, these fights and stuff, a couple questions I have for you. One is, I would say more often than a lot of the people that we work with, I get calls from Chad because bro does double scoops of just about everything. So his supply,
I need more.
Yeah, his supply seems to get really low. What products from Mountain Ops are you consuming and taking? And if you can equate that also to in concert with the kind of types of workouts that you're doing, and how those products and your diet is kind of fundamentally,
like how does it tie into your diet?
How does it tie into that diet that really is creating this complete fulcrum of just like epic performance, great conditioning and workouts, and building that body to the point where you need it for, you know, obviously for the octagon, but then we talk about your hunts as well.
Yep. So my Mountain Op system is this. So usually I wake up in the morning. The first thing that I put into my body before anything, I wake up, and this is great because Abby always has it mixed because she gets up and goes to work before my first workout. So she'll mix an ammo shake and put it on my bedside. And I wake up, pound that. That's the first thing. Because usually I wake up starving in the morning, especially when I'm doing 2 or 3 workouts a day. Like, it's tough for me to try to keep up on my calorie intake. So right away, boom, do that, do all my morning stuff, brush my teeth, all that. Go downstairs. I'll usually eat a breakfast, usually some like oatmeal, some kind of fruit, eggs. And then what I do is mix a BCAA shake, just water, BCAAs. I will chug usually about half a Blaze. I'm pretty caffeine sensitive. I don't need a full one.
On the Blaze shot?
Blaze shots, yep. I do about half of one of those. And that's typically anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes before my workout starts. And I have my BCAAs that I keep in my shaker, and I take that and set that on the edge of the mat. And that's what I'm sipping on throughout my whole, MMA workout. So drinking that right when my workout is done, I do a Magnum scoop. So just the way, like directly after my workout. And then I showered, head home, usually eat lunch. Usually try to take like an hour to a half hour nap. The midday naps are like crucial for me doing the 2 to 3 workouts a day. If I can't do that, like that last workout of the day, usually I'm just like tanked, you know? So I try to get like a half hour to an hour nap in, usually eat again. And then I'm headed back to the gym for my second workout of the day. And I'll do the same thing. I'll do the other half of the Blaze, and I'll do, another BCAA, sipping that throughout my workout. And that workout in the afternoon is usually like a mitt workout with my trainer. So they're really high intensity, just explosive, throwing tons of combos on the pads. Like when you held those.
Oh yeah. I was on the mitts once. It's not, I don't want to be on the receiving end of his punches. I learned that real fast, but it was awesome.
So I'll do that, again, sipping on BCAAs the whole time. After, again, another Magnum. So I'm usually doing 2 Magnum a day. On that third workout, usually if it's a third workout of the day, it's something low intensity, like a 30-minute bike or hour bike ride, or like a 2 to 3 mile jog, low intensity. So it's just kind of helping me burn those extra calories to get my weight down. It's not so much of like a training, like I'm trying to get my cardio built up for anything. It's just kind of like low intensity, almost like a recovery workout. And I don't always do that third workout. Usually it's 1 to 2 a day, and then every once in a while I'll throw that third in there. But then I eat dinner. I do another Magnum after that second workout. Eat dinner. I'll rest. I'll get some work done in the evening if I need to. And then again, right before bed, I'll do slumber. I'll drink that, usually sitting in bed, and I already have another ammo shake sitting on my bedside table. Because usually when I'm doing those 2 to 3 workouts a day, like I said, I just can't keep up on enough food. So like I'm waking up 2 to 3 times throughout the night starving. So I usually just put that ammo shake on my bedside table. So if I do wake up, instead of me having to go downstairs, cook something, make something, by that time I'm wide awake, you know? I'm not going to go back to sleep for another 2 or 3 hours. I just reach over, pound that shake, and I just pass right back out, usually till morning. And that's my system. So the slumber definitely helps that too. But still, sometimes the hunger overrides that, and it'll wake me up.
Yep, that anxiety, that hunger anxiety, right? Because those two can't coexist, and so that'll take you right out of your cycle or your sleep cycle, bring you back out, and then you need to get back in. So that's what I've noticed. Because I remember you called me one time and you said, "Man, like, you know, I don't know what it is, but I'm drinking that ammo night, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it's helped a lot.
Sleep through the night. The fiber, I think.
And Trevor will tell you, like, it's a casein protein, and so it's actually really good for you to take at night. The flaxseed that's expanding in that product is helping to help.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
To feel full.
How do you manage the when you use ammo, it can get thick. Do you just mix it with a little more liquid, or especially the longer it sits?
I usually
it expands quicker.
Exactly. So I usually do, if it's the one where I'm putting on my bedside table, I do half a shaker of water, where normally it's usually a quarter, so nothing like a ton.
It's highly diluted.
So I dilute it pretty good. If I were to wake up and just drink it, it would be obviously be thick, and I'd have to basically chew that to get it down. So I just wake up, and Abby usually gets pissed when I do this, but I'll shake it like 2 or 3 times. She wakes up every single time, but and then I just pound it, and it's not bad with that much water in it. But
gotcha.
That's pretty much my system. I'll mix in some Yeti as far as the pre-workout. So the Blaze usually is what I stick to as far as my plays.
That's enough stimulant for you to get you going, to turn the bells on and go.
I'll mix it up every once in a while with Yeti. I'll throw some enduro sometimes. But my go-to for the pre is the Blaze. It does it for me, man.
It's so interesting when we look at our line, how each product like reacts with certain people. I remember when I sent you, I'm like, hey dude, like if you're going to do like workouts, you got to do Yeti. And so you did it and you're like, oh, this is working really good. But then you got your hand on some of those Blaze shots.
I don't know
and
why.
for Chad
Absolutely
Mendes, the Blaze shots, and for him, even just half of a shot,
Me too.
you know, is enough
Blaze
energy
junkie.
and focus. This guy,
I love him.
He goes downstairs and just pops one of those Blazes. And it's funny, I would say when we're talking about our product line, probably one of the
you guys never talk about
we
the Blaze
never talk
shots.
about Blaze. We always are focusing on Ignite because of the amazing science. Every product we have is completely science-based. You talk about that and how you're following more of a scientific workout, you know, more systematic. I mean, that's true in our products. And those little Blaze shots, they don't get a lot of FaceTime through the Mountain Ots brand. But, I mean, those came because of the Blaze pills that were so effective at optimizing the body's energy and focus levels while reducing appetite and then maximizing fat burn, right? So somebody who's looking to lose weight, we literally just simply extracted from that the energy and focus properties, put that into a liquid form, and then we reconciled what I consider all those energy shots on market that are literally nothing but caffeine, sugars, some niacin, and some of them some what's the one? It's actually just got banned recently from Europe, but these ingredients that don't provide any real nutritional value as well as any back end support. So you're actually getting with that product that you notice a energy and focus for an extended period of time with no crash.
Yeah. But it works different for different people.
Yeah, that's what I mean is like some guy like you.
Everybody metabolizes different. They have a different gut. They have different intestinal flora. They have different different
the way
diet.
they absorb the nutrition, the way that their body distributes it, what it pulls out of it, what it utilizes, what it just dumps.
Yeah.
And like for Trevor, he takes Yeti and that thing he's going.
Yeah.
He takes a Blaze shot. He's like you and Brian, loves those Blaze shots. He takes Ignite and he's like, don't
really feel much.
I don't feel much.
Yeah.
But yet the properties are almost parallel. Like
I've heard
200 milligrams of.
I've had people tell me that too.
Yeah. So, but for Jordan Harbertson, Ignite, I'm going. A Blaze shot, I don't really feel its effects much. And so it's interesting
so
that
crazy.
everybody's
Yeah.
body is different and how it,
And your body changes. So I've learned for me, like Ignite is really effective for me if I take it for a month or so. It's like anytime I'm feeling a little tired or I'm on a hike or whatever, I take a dose of Ignite, and I am like kicking butt, wide awake, alert. I'm just friendlier to everyone.
Right?
Like I'm
seems to be a
just
lot more
happier.
chipper.
I feel the same way with blaze shots. Like I feel good. Like I feel happy. I get
Well,
energy.
that's
I'm
what I was
just
going
like,
to say is
I just feel great.
on such an even kill level
Yeah,
of life that you're
what I
good.
find though is like when so then after I've used Ignite for quite a while though, it stops
Affecting you the same.
affecting me the same. So I cycle off of it. I just stop taking it. And that's when I started, I'd do something else. But then I got those blaze shots. And from the very first time I had them, I always liked them. But now it's like I'll drink a half a blaze shot and I'm like, and when I cycle off the Ignite, I'm on blaze. And then I'm on, after the blaze, I'm back on Ignite. And I go back and forth between the two. And they're totally different stimulants. They do, but yet both of them make me feel alert and just
get you
cheery
going.
and nice. And I tend to, for blaze shots, they tend to never not work for me.
Same with me.
I
They're
don't know why.
consistent
They
across
just-
the board. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because of what's in them, you've got your vitamin B, you've got trehalose, you've got caffeine, you've got all these different things that make up that product that are really consistent ingredients that really optimize certain parts of the body's ability to be more aware and alert, to be focused. And the thing that I kind of also find kind of interesting is the process that I think people don't know, which is Brian speaking to it, the cycling, because our bodies can become as we consume something regularly, almost like habitually, like a lot of times people with coffee, like I know a lot of coffee drinkers that they don't even get stimulant anymore.
8 cups later, they have to drink so much.
Because it's literally their bodies have become so immune to its process that if they were to do what Brian suggests and what I do sometimes as well, is if you cycle off of it, and that cycle could be a week, that cycle could be 2 weeks, all of a sudden when you come back in, that when you consume it, it's much more potent and much more effective.
And I want it for performance. So before hunting season, say September, I'm going to be out in the backcountry a lot. I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm not getting as much sleep. I'm hiking a lot of miles. I like to have something that gives me a little more energy. And so, July and August, I'm in here, I'm at the gym, wherever. I'm hiking a lot and I'm exercising quite a bit, trying to be at, really fit for the season, but I'm straight up like water as far as stimulants go.
You're trying to not use those stimulants so that when you're on the hunt.
Yep.
We've talked about this.
And I noticed this, and that's a question for you, Chad. I sleep a lot more and more readily when I don't take
Too much
Ignite or
stimulant.
Blaze, right? And so July and August is a pretty slow time. I don't have to be here at a certain time. I don't have to leave at a certain time. I don't have to stay up late because I'm doing shows or I'm traveling or I'm hunting. So it's like I can work out, go home. If I'm feeling tired, like 2 or 3 o'clock, I'll just go sleep. I get up, do more things, and I'm tired at 9, 10, and I sleep a lot of hours. And I just sleep a lot while I'm pushing my body pretty hard in July and August in the gym. And then when I roll into the season, September, October, November, I'm pushing it pretty hard, and I'm pretty much living on a little bit of
Some performance boosters.
performance boosting, energy stuff. And that seems to work for me right there. That little
For me, typically I try to stay away from doing the stimulant stuff if I don't necessarily need it. Like sometimes I feel like people are like, it gets into a routine for them. Like you're saying, like if I don't have to work out that day, or I don't need to just be like extremely focused for anything. Like if it's a lazy day or a recovery day, even during my training camp, like I try to get 2 days off a week. And I usually mix up, not 2 consecutive days in a row. I'll go like 2 split days throughout the week. And I purposely, even though I really want to sometimes, I purposely keep myself from having any blaze or any type of stimulant.
Yep.
Just so that the next day I get back into practice and I know, okay, I got 2 or 3 really hard workouts this day. I'm going to need blaze, like I need, or whatever it is, and I need to drink this and stay focused and be able to push through these workouts as hard as I possibly can. So I try to take a break from them at least 2 times a week during my training camp. And then outside of training, like unless I'm packing something out or, like I need to get a ton of work done for something, maybe for fins and feathers this day. Like if it's nothing like that, I just won't take it. But those days that I need it, it's going down.
Yeah. See, and that I think for a lot of people, what they don't understand is moderation and discipline, and then understanding the balance between when to use it, maybe even when not to use it. Because we're not sitting here suggesting like take it every single day all the time. And I think you two bring up some really good points. It's also a lot of how I do things similar. Obviously, there's things that are staples, right? Like ammo. There's no stimulant in that. That's food. That's nutrition. Like that's something you take every day.
Yep.
Slumber, we need good sleep every night. You need vitamins. You do like the STMs, the straight to mouths.
That's why I also forgot that in my Mountain Up system. I do those every morning. So I take the biotics and the straight to mouth vitamins.
So you've got your gut health, and then you're putting the essential vitamins into your body that are good all around. So there's certain things that are kind of just daily intakes that really don't affect on the stimulant side of becoming immune to these things, because these are actually things that your body is wanting and needing that you might be substituting because you're not getting them in the foods you're eating. Yeah. And so that's where finding that discipline and when to use stimulants and when to not. I think you guys are bringing up some really good information for people to understand. Yep. But again, it's I always use the term, every body is different. Yeah. And so you've really got to find what works for you. Then apply that to what you're doing and how it's working for what you're doing, and then creating that and understanding balance between what Brian speaks to and saying, okay, I'm gonna exercise this day. I'm gonna get ready for a hunt, so I'm gonna go, basically virgin. I'm just not gonna go on it for a while. He's not taking any of his other stuff. It's the stimulants. So you're like, right. I want this to be so potent when I'm out there that it is providing optimal output and performance for my body that I really need.
Gives me an edge.
When you need that edge when you're going, hard on those verticals, you're hiking, you're hunting, you're running, these things.
Well, and it's like I've seen guys that use like a can of Copenhagen, like Snyder. Seriously, like when I was hanging out with Dustin Rowe in backcountry BC and beyond, we were sitting there we were talking about, mixing up some Ignite and we were talking about food, and he's lost quite a bit of weight. He's skinny. He's like, I'm skin and bones now toward the end of the season. I get like this every year. I struggle with maintaining weight. And, he was saying, he's like, but it's pretty bad. Like, I mean, you just give me Copenhagen and I can live on that.
That's
for
crazy.
Days, for weeks.
That is crazy.
He's like, you take away the Copenhagen and I'm struggling. So he's like, Copenhagen, coffee, a little bit of like food here and there, not much. And he's just go. I don't think that's a long-term strategy, And
dude, I love food too much, man. I'm Portuguese and Italian mostly, and like food to us is like, that's
food is life.
Life.
You don't and I can only imagine when you're doing these camps and you're going on your diet regimens and you're cutting weight, you're really having to balance your foods, your intake, what you're eating, what those dinners look like. Like you said, throughout the day, you wake up, you have an ammo shake. My regimen is I'm not in the UFC, but it's pretty close to yours, which I wake up and I had an ammo shake. That's my breakfast. I've never really been a breakfast guy, even though I love breakfast foods. I just never have time to prepare it.
Yep.
I'm on to work. You're on to work out. Afternoon, I'm making another ammo shake. Maybe I mix in a scoop of Magnum, increase my overall protein intake, like these things. And then I have a dinner, and so, but it works for me.
Yep.
It's what's really helped me to right size when I went through where I was putting on a lot of weight and I was obese. I don't know. Maybe if I went and saw the doctor, he probably would have said, man, Jordan, based on your height and you're 215, you're obese. And I had to right size that by first and foremost. And I think this is where people really get lost when they're starting their fitness journey, is they get so focused on, I got to go to the gym. I mean, I spent the first 30 days of my 90-day commitment that Eric Chesser put me on to just figuring out my diet. Once I started to create those habits and get comfortable with a system that worked for me, the next step was I just started to do cardio. And then I graduated from that to say, now I'm going to do weights and cardio. And then I'm going to start intervaling and changing those throughout my exercise workout. And so Brian was really helpful during that time because he started to put me through some of his workouts, which is more CrossFit based, high intensity, smaller amounts of time. But I mean, we're doing lots of different circuits and reps and things like that. There's similar things that you do for your camps. And all of a sudden my results were maximized. Like the first month I had lost a little bit of weight, and I knew so it was headed in the right direction. Once I added that next tier of fitness in conjunction with my diet, all of a sudden it maximized. And then it was the recovery part, I think, is the other pillar that people really sacrifice, which is we'll get so amped up about our results or where we're heading that we'll be on diets on point, and then we just over-exercise. And you can actually over-exercise.
For sure.
And I learned that the hard way because Brian was kind of coaching me and going, Jordan, I'm really happy for what you're doing and your results seem pretty like I can physically see your results. So without you telling me, I can see your performances. You're lifting more weights. Your exercises are solid. Like you're getting better form, like all these things over time. But I do worry that you're overworking yourself because I got the bug, man. I just love it now. Like I enjoy exercise, and if it's not a part of my day, it seems like my day's thrown off in some way.
Like when you see a guy that's doing 2-a-days at the gym, but also sleeping 5 hours a night, you're like,
not going to happen.
This is going to
this is going to catch
problem.
up. Yeah.
And they get into it and they're seeing results, and it feels good to crush yourself in the gym when you get into that phase. And I think your body really starts tapping into its own cortisol, right? Now you're just like, you're actually feeling good, but you're really robbing the future to enjoy the now, which, eventually does catch up. And you see these athletes and these guys that are especially like, he got the bug, and I'm just putting a bug in his ear saying,
careful.
You might be careful and then, of course, I'm the old dude at the gym. Like everybody at Mountain Ops is 21. So it's like, but you get there and they're like, hey, I didn't see you yesterday at the gym. Like we're here 5 days a week and I only saw you 3 days this week. And I'm like, that's all I needed for me right now.
Yep.
Actually, the days off are really part of my plan. And there's peer pressure from this crowd to show up. And I'm like, I know my own body though.
Dude, I get the exact same thing from our team. It's a team sport. I mean, people don't realize, it's MMA. I'm getting there on my own, but we have to have a team to train. Like I need training partners to spar with. I need, different people to drill with. But before using the system that I just used this last training camp, that's one of the main reasons why it was always balls to the wall. I'm in every single practice because I felt guilty, if there's guys that are doing that and I'm not doing that, I'm like, oh crap, I'm not working hard enough, but there's got to be a system to it, and I think one of the key things and one thing I really focused on in this training camp, and it's something that I learned in that book that I think I told you about it, but your heart rate variability. I don't know if you guys have ever followed that through any of your training camp. And so I'd never done anything like that in any camps before. So being able to kind of monitor whether I was being overtrained or I can step it up.
For people that are listening, heart rate variability, isn't that where you track your heart rate all day long?
Yeah, well, you can do it all day long. Okay. For me, what I would do is every morning I'd wake up. The first thing I do, I'd roll over, I'd strap my heart rate monitor on, and I have an app on my phone.
Okay.
And it reads, I think it's a 3-minute reading, and it reads, there's something that goes on in between each heart rate or heartbeat, and it can track, obviously going off your heart rate. If you're starting to get overtrained, your heart rate's going to start increasing.
Right.
So like if I wake up and it's like 65 where it's normally been like 55, I'm like, oh,
you're
crap.
stressed.
Yeah, something's going on here.
You're stressed.
So I'm going to take today and either take it off or do something really low intensity because my body is telling me like, whoa, like something is out of whack right now. You need to take it easy. So going off of that and being able to wake up every morning, read that and go, oh, I have this plan today, but my body's telling me, I feel like, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm sore. But usually I'm just like, you just can't be a sissy. Let's go, push through it. So those days I'd wake up where my heart rate variability would probably be through the roof and my body's screaming, stop doing
Take
that.
a break.
I would go in and still do 2 or 3 hard workouts a day. Then I end up getting sick, my body's so run down, or getting overtrained to where I'm just like, I get tired within the first 30 seconds of doing anything. So being able to follow that heart rate variability throughout my whole training camp, I think was key to peaking at the right point where I don't think I've never focused on that on any other training camp.
Yeah.
And honestly, this last fight was the best I've ever felt the week of, and that night of the fight, was unbelievable. I felt confident. I felt strong. I felt like my endurance was good. I felt just everything was right on point.
Did you feel like you missed out on workouts you should have done? Because you were resting?
No. So what we would do is we would move workouts, which I've never done that before. But if I know this day I have this specific hard workout that needs to be done at this point in my camp, but I wake up that morning and my body's like, no, the hell you're not, I'll take that workout and I'll move it to the next day if my heart rate variability told me so. So I wouldn't just not do that workout and know that workout's still part of my training camp. I just need to move it around. So I would let my body rest maybe that day or do something really light.
Right.
So when I woke up the next day, my body's feeling good again. I'm like, oh man, okay, I could do this, and then you push through that hard workout. But I wouldn't just I'm never going to do that, and so.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm fascinated by this whole thing. And so when you listen to the heart rate monitor and then did you find over time that you could tell without the monitor, did you kind of get a feel for how you felt when
it was days that I should take off?
Yeah, did you ever go, this is weird. I don't feel like the heart rate monitor and me are on the same page.
Yeah.
That did happen.
A couple times, yeah. A few times, actually.
But most of the time, did you actually kind of know?
Yeah. I could tell, one particular event, and Abby's going to kill me for even telling you this, but
yes.
During this training camp, we got into an argument the night before, and we never argue ever, and it stressed me out. I don't like fighting, and so we got into an argument. We went.
You don't
to
like
bed.
fighting?
I mean, I don't like fighting with Abby,
your wife,
with my wife. Yeah. So we got into an argument. We went to bed mad at each other.
Yes.
I woke up and my heart rate variability was the lowest that it was the entire training camp, in the red, screaming, "You're not doing today." And I woke up so that must have just been a mental stress that really, I never pay attention that it would affect my performance that much. But it obviously, when I tested my heart rate variability the next morning, it was just screaming red zone, And so then obviously I ended up taking that day off, doing lighter stuff, fixed whatever we needed to fix with Abby. And that next day it was a 10 again, just perfect, And so I think there's a lot of obviously mental stress outside of just the physical pushing of killing yourself in the gym that will really push you over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I even felt the heart rate variability was a 3, which was the lowest that it was. Screaming red. I went in and still, I think I sparred maybe 1 or 2 rounds instead of doing the full 5. And I felt like garbage those 2 rounds. So I'm man, I'm glad I listened to it because I was maybe this thing's off,
Right.
But, and there was a couple times where I'd wake up and I'm I don't feel that bad, but it would be you're getting
On
close. Yeah. So I had to take it easy today. And I'm I feel like I could go hard here, but I would listen to it.
Yeah.
And, it ended up peaking right. So.
I'm just going to go real personal here for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Did the heart rate variability also coincide with your sex drive? Or is that just always on top?
No. It's definitely
because for Brian
not.
It is.
It's definitely not. During training camps, it definitely peaks and valleys for that.
Because sometimes I'll use that as a guideline. If I just have no sex drive at all, I'm okay, I'm overtrained here.
Yeah, and I mean, if I go through one, if it's a hard day, I do 2 really hard workouts. Say I spar 5 rounds, where sparring is where you put headgear on, big 16-ounce gloves, shin guards, and I'm basically fighting, I would if I stepped foot on the ground. Yeah, just as hard as I can. Obviously not trying to knock someone unconscious, but body shots, kicks, grappling, it's just high pace, very tiring. Say I do 5 rounds, 6 rounds of that, and then my next workout's I don't know, hard wrestling or hard mitt session, 2 like really high intensity workouts that day, like I have 0 sex drive when I get home. Like it's just shut off. My body's like, you're in survival mode right now, bro. You're not.
This isn't procreation time.
This isn't time to be practicing.
Typically
procreation.
the next day, say I have a lighter day that next day.
Yeah.
That evening I'm just
surges back.
Exactly.
Right.
So it kind of just comes and goes throughout the whole training camp.
I think that's one thing that most of us probably, without having the systems in place or maybe even the product to be able to, collect that data, to be able to, because in everything I'm learning, not only about business, same thing applies to fitness. I mean, that's why there's all these different apps and different things that can track things that can give you these readouts that you can then look at, and you can literally follow a line of where you're at your performance, and listening to your body instead of just, pushing through mentally. Because I believe, to your point that you spoke on earlier, with how as you're getting older, you're 33. You're not that old.
No. For the sport, it's old.
For the sport,
old,
just like basketball and football. 30 years plus, you start peaking, and they're like, you're too old, man. Like your 20s is when you're in your prime. Some guys can, I believe, outlast many of those guys that either peak too early or start to go down because of what you're doing now. And I know what Brian is a huge advocate for, which is moderation, discipline, listening to your body. So I'm, younger than him. So I'm that guy that's like 5 days. Why are you in the gym every day? And he's like, bro, I'm sleeping. Like when he got back from his hunt, I was giving him a hard time because I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're back. Like, let's go work out. And he's like, I'll see you in 3 days. And he was, because he was sleeping. He didn't even come to the office. He literally, from his hunt and everything that he sacrificed on that hunt, he said, I'm going to take 3 days and recover. And I think that is something that many people don't focus enough on, or maybe that they sacrifice easily because it's like, I've done all the hard things, but your body needs that rest.
Oh, it definitely
so
does.
bad.
Recovery
You talk about
is huge.
You talk about if I was to equate percentage, physical fitness, health, like doing hard things, and recovery, what are those percentages for you?
Man, I would probably say, I'd say recovery is probably over half. Honestly,
like 60-40.
I'd say 60-40.
Like obviously each one is, you're giving 100%, right?
Yep.
But where you place priority and where you emphasize is 40% of this whole thing. If I'm going to break down, like, let's say you're doing a camp for
That's
30
the hard
days.
work. 40% is the hard work.
I'm 40% dedicated hard work. Those are 2 days, 3 days, everything intermixed. 60% of my focus is on recovery.
Yep.
That's midday naps. That's making sure I get to bed on time. That's also listening to my body, knowing when I'm not going to work out, because then I'm going to be able to be even stronger for the next workout. So it's a big balance that we have to place.
On that note, for recovery, one thing I want to touch on for people that are listening, because I think it's hugely, this is a perfect illustration of it, is the stress issue. Here you
Life
are
stress.
slamming your body and doing all this stuff, and that it's a certain type of stress.
Physical stress.
But what crushed your heart rate variability
was the mental
stress of the fight with your wife. That right there, people listen up, because that is huge.
It's huge.
I moved here, and in June it was a very stressful thing to take your whole family, pick them up, leave a house, move to a new one, set up a new house, meet new people, new office space, studio, lots of things to do with Gritty. I'm trying to, launch, get into place, films I'm editing, goals I'm trying to meet, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not that old, I'm working out and I'm sleeping well and I'm eating well. Like, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm carrying this huge stress load that's mental. It's a relationship. It has to do with certain relationships in my life that aren't going well. Some that are, but some that aren't. It's social pressures, and these stresses really impacted my recovery rates. It didn't matter if I was sleeping great. It didn't matter if I was exercising, eating perfectly. I needed to sort my life out. Yeah. I needed to sort out some of those, especially I think in terms of relationships in your life. I don't think people realize how much stress
Effects.
and how much a damaged relationship in your life can really crush your well-being.
I agree. I think one of the things in the book it talks about is getting your life outside of the training right. Like, you could be doing all the right things you need to be doing in the gym, all the things you think as far as recovery goes, all the right things that you think you're doing right. If there's too many outside stress factors, like, that recovery is just squashed. You might as well just stop working out, because you're never going to recover from it. Getting those things, whether it's your financial situation, your housing situation, your relationship, all that type of stuff, your coaching situation. Like, I've been super stressed about different types of coaching situations before, trying to figure out who I'm going to use, like, how am I going to get this person over, stuff like that. Getting all that stuff figured out before camp is, in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do as a fighter, or probably any athlete, before you start training for an event. Just getting life in order to where you feel everything's where it needs to be before you start absolutely killing yourself in the gym. I mean, I think it's something you absolutely have to do.
Well, I've had Dr. Hillary Lampers on here, and Ryan Lampers, and Hunt Harvest Health. They have the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. Mm-hmm. We've talked about stress, and one of the issues that does come up is that, so we're stressed when we go hunting. I was just in British Columbia, and we were getting, Adam Greentree shoots a great moose, and then a grizzly bear comes and buries it underground, right? Uh-huh. And there's tracks like the size of, I don't know, they're just monster, as big as my head.
And Dan's standing on top ground of it with a shotgun.
Yeah, and there's
prepare for an attack.
Yeah. Right, and the wind and the rain, the snow's coming in, and it's blizzarding, and you're on a horse that's slipping and falling down like steep slopes, and you're crossing rivers, and it's treacherous, and you're doing this whole thing, right? And there's this stress too, like, you've come here to get a moose and you haven't seen a moose for days, and you're like, so you're in the wilderness and you're doing this whole thing, and it's got a certain type of stress associated with this 2-week long adventure. Yet I come home from that, and in those types of stressful environments, and my sex drive is through the roof.
Really?
I'm super chill when I get back. Nothing bothers me. I can crush in the gym after a few days. I'm sleeping like a rock through the night, and I'm good. Then then contrast that to the stresses of email, work, life, and all that. And it's not the case. Like, I get crushed. And what I have learned is, back to what you were saying earlier about hitting it hard and then going into the wilderness. I think that when we go into the wilderness like that, and we experience that type of stress, that's what our DNA is programmed for. Uh-huh. That's the type of stress that we have evolved to handle and understand and cope with and actually thrive on. Freezing in the morning when I climb out of my sleeping bag and in shaking hands, like trying to put a fire together, and then getting that fire going and standing in front of it seems miserable and stressful, but it's like a good kind of miserable and stressful.
I'm happy in those situations. Like,
yeah. I
don't know if we're all just weird because we like that so much, but to me, that's joyous.
When I
wake up, it's still dark outside. I only got probably 5 hours of sleep, but I'm like, let's go look for the moose.
It's crazy. And Hillary talked about that, and how DNA wise, we were actually like programmed and built to, roll through that kind of stress. Mm-hmm. We're drinking clean water. We're breathing clean air. We're outside. We're using our body physically throughout the day. We're hiking, moving. We're on alert. There's a moose. No, it's not. It's just a bush. These emotions that come and go. Uh-huh. And it's this, we got to watch out. There's a grizzly bear on our tracks. Oh, now we're in a safe spot. Your adrenaline drops. There's no grizzly bear. You're in your cabin. You're laughing. You're telling jokes. You're hanging out. It's a warm fire. It's like these ebbs and flows of these emotions. And it's actually recharging to the body and the mind. And then you come back to this sort of concrete world, internet, cell phones, social media. It's like, those things we have not evolved. This is like a big, grand human experiment, what we're in right now. Like, the real life that we're really built for, that's that hunting life.
That's
And
being
so-
completely disconnected from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
life over here. I think one thing that Hillary talked about too, and you're alluding to it, is just environment, right? So when you look at an individual and an individual's physical well-being, their health and their wellness can be impacted by just that stress and environment. And that stress is also caused because of individuals. So like your book that you read is talking about being able to make sure that this is all in accordance and working in concert together so that as you come over here to train, you're not distracted. These things are not affecting this. They do, but they're not affecting it in a bad way, but in a positive light. And stress is a real thing when people, because stress can affect a person's eating habits. If they're working at a desk job, if they're living a life that they're really not proud of, or they're not super stoked about what they're doing. You know, Steve Ranella just came out with a podcast that Onyx Maps was promoting. And so I listened to it, and he talks about like, and I agree with him and disagree at some level, but I think he brings something really important, which is talking about, hey, you know, you're 1/3 of your life, you're going to be working, you know, so go find something that you really love, right? And so he's equating that to like hunting and that passion. But I also believe that you can have both. I believe that you can love what you do every day, and I believe that you can then go do what you love when you're not working.
Yeah.
And so, because that's what I found, I can 100% say I absolutely love my job, and I don't even feel like I can use that word, what I do here, my job and my business. And I love going hunting and being outside with my family and, you know, disconnecting from this life, because I have seen too, just I think as you have, and as you have, is when I am in those environments and when I'm in those places, my stress levels are so low. In fact, Garmin,
they're there and they're high, like in a float plane.
Yeah.
You know, and landing, or a grizzly bear nearby.
Right.
They
Because of the
spike,
situation.
and then they disappear.
Like-
Where here they spike and they just sit there all night because you don't know what the wife is thinking because you guys had a big fight, right?
Yeah.
It's different.
It's totally different. And Chad Van Camp from Garmin, right?
Yeah.
He gave us, we've got these watches. And so this Phoenix watch here correlates with this Garmin Connect app. And so I've really actually been studying it like you did for your heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
I
You're
was just
to
going to say, I would be
variable.
curious to know.
Dude, yeah, this
A
is
hunt and then a training camp.
Oh,
like,
you need to, because what I found is that there's a part of the app that is, it actually is your stress level. So it takes a lot of things into account. It's taking your heart rate. It's taking everything that you're doing in the day, and it's compiling that into, here were your peaks, here were your valleys. Here's your total number of what
stress
level
score.
stress score.
that's your HRV. That's basically the same thing.
Yes.
That's pretty much the same thing that the heart rate does, except for you're getting it all day. Where each workout I have to put my strap on, and then the app picks up what my workout is. So it knows when I'm in the red zone, when I'm training, and not.
And
that's
so
cool.
this thing is, you know, so this thing's going over your heart rate. This thing's going over, it goes over like your intensity minutes. It will tell you your stress level, all these things. And if you're able to sleep with it or keep it on while you're sleeping, it'll actually track your cycle.
Nice.
So it'll tell you how your sleep, what level, how
Dude,
much
I need to
deep
get one
sleep.
of those.
See that stress right there. For like 4 months after I moved, it was in the medium to high, and I couldn't get it to drop no matter what I did.
That's what I was going to say is as I studied it, as I had data to look at and actually read it and say, here's what happened. When I was out hunting, my stress score or levels were optimally low.
Yeah.
And when I was here at the office and working, because we have, you know, things happen in mountain ops and we've got to address certain things, or my wife and family, or just balancing life in general when we come back from these adventures, my stress score was higher. Yeah. And so you equate that to how much that's affecting your life, whether it's overall health and well-being or just your physical condition. It plays a huge role. And I think it's a role that people diminish, unfortunately, a lot and don't address it. Because if you do what Chad does, which is address these issues, and I like what you said. You said, I don't fight very much with my wife. And the fact that you did is what caused that level of stress. Because you hated it. You're like, I love Abby. I don't want to fight with her. We did. And so it affected your sleep. And then when you woke up, you haven't reconciled anything. And then once you did, all of a sudden you were able to look and say, man, I'm back to a good level and I want to go back. But that to me is something that I think for anybody who's listening, that you know, whether you look at Brian's life, you look at Chad's life, you can look at my life, look at anybody's life, whatever you're doing in your life, make sure before you set these big goals for yourself to do, if you're going to go jump in an octagon, or you're going to go on a really epic, moose hunt in the British Columbia, 30 freaking miles back from, or hundreds of miles back from any road or civilization, make sure that what Chad has instructed all of us to, that the book talks about. What's the name of that book, by the way?
Ultimate Conditioning for MMA.
Okay, Ultimate Conditioning.
Joel Jameson, yeah.
Okay.
Joel Jameson.
So if anybody wants to read that book, check it out, because I think that the principles that are being applied obviously are relating to MMA, but obviously we're correlating how it parallels with just life in general.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great self-development practice. If you're stressed in your life, identify, Hillary and I talked about this once on a call, identify those stresses, what those are, and then begin to cut them out. So you said something I just want to speak to real quick, is you said when you moved here, there was a lot of things in your life that were causing you stress. And I kind of correlate stress to fat. Sometimes you just got to cut it off, right? To get to like the prime meat or the prime, what you want.
Yep.
And Brian did have to go through a purging process in his life, not only of things, but also people that I've found even in my own life. And maybe you've seen this too. It's hard, but it's honestly what I found has brought me more happiness and less stress, which is people that cause stress. So you talk about coaches.
You can love
finding
them
the right
too.
team. You can love them, but there can be an incredible amount of stress that you either have to minimize that relationship and the communication, or you have to completely cut that person off because their influence in your life is causing you more stress and more negative than positive. And it's a hard thing for people to do.
Sometimes one of the most difficult things you can do
is finding those people or individuals that when you isolate them and you figure out, I'm like, and I've realized some of the people who I thought were my closest people weren't really my closest people, that it became so difficult to say, I have to change my relationship with you to the point where I have to actually cut you out of my life. Now, some of those people, because once they've gone through that purge or we've made those disconnects, suddenly recognize and made some changes in their life and then came back into my life, and now we have a better relationship and there's no stress. But sometimes you have to go through that process so that I can get to a better place in my life for what I'm doing, and so can that person. So as hard as it is sometimes it's the best move for both parties.
Yeah.
And let's face it, like my mom, she mentioned parenting, and she's like, you don't pick your kids, right? I mean, you give birth to them. In my case, there were 8. And there's going to be situations where certain kids are just harder to live with than other kids. But as a parent, do you love one less than the other? No, you love them both. But one of them is trying to give you a heart attack before you're, or make you grow gray hair. And the other one is like just easy to be around. But you never know, like, how two personalities click or how they don't click. And so to me, it's, but managing those relationships, it doesn't mean you don't have more difficult relationships in your life, because I think that's important too. We all need social skills, and we all need people that have opposite opinions of us to be around us so that we can stay, open to new ideas and continually learn. At the same time, you got to manage that stress. So it's a balance.
It really is.
Huge balance. And sometimes in kind of, I think this discussion to me with you, Chad's been really fascinating, eye-opening on a lot of levels. Just hearing your perspective on things you've gone through in your life, things that you're going through right now in your life, that I think a lot of people can take away from this and hopefully apply to themselves.
I hope so.
Is, there in the overall self-development process, if you look at what a fighter has to go through, right? And I can't speak to it as eloquently as you can, because you literally live it and do it.
Seems like getting hit in the face would be highly stressful.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty stressful, yeah.
That's the thing is like what you do and what you've done. And if I look at like your preparation, and we've talked about it parallels a little bit throughout this conversation, what is something, as you look at your life and where you've come from and how you've got here to this point with a great successful business at Fins and Feathers, an illustrious career in the MMA, notoriety, all these things culminated, that really make up Chad Mendes. What has been something that you would say, when you look at your life, has been the most impactful, life-changing thing that has, and it could be something that happened long ago, could be something that's happened very recent, that's really almost changed your whole perspective on life and what really matters most to you?
I mean, this, I can go right to it right away. Just recently, I mean, I was banned from the UFC for 2 years for using a cream that I was using on my psoriasis. The UFC had just started using USADA, which is United States Anti-Doping Agency. It was something that's completely new for the organization. You know, they just adopted and brought them on. So everybody's like supplement schedules, everything just became like super tight lockdown. Like everyone's starting to freak out, like, oh crap. Well, I was using a cream on my psoriasis, had an ingredient on it that was on their banned list. So I get banned for 2 years. And, you know, when I get the news from that, I mean, I was just completely blown away. Like I was almost put into like a depression. Yeah, like a deep, and I'm just like, man, what the hell is going on? Like never in my life have I ever like tried to cheat to be successful in especially wrestling or any sport or anything like that. So being now put into a class with someone like that because a new company comes in and something I'm using on my body, you know, obviously I just didn't know, I didn't do the research on it. Like I'm like just blown away. Like Abby's upset. Like I had to call my sponsors and let everybody know I called you.
You had to call me specifically because our product, you know, that people are going to start questioning, oh, is Mountain Ops not USADA approved? And it is. Yep. Because he was using a different product that didn't. And so when he called me, I was just like, Chad, we're here for you. Like we're in your corner. Let's get through this. You know, there was a little bit of backlash, but not enough that, I mean, I knew the truth and so did you.
Yeah. And so just me talking about it a little bit in the public, but more than anything, just being put through that tough time. Like that was one of the like most embarrassing and craziest times of my life, probably for the first like 6 months of that. Like absolutely sucked. Like I had no clue what I was going to do. Like, am I done fighting? You know, am I like these companies that I'm working with, I have friendships with the owners. Like, is this all diminished? Like, what is going to happen to my life at this point? Like, what am I going to do? And there was just a bunch of like stepping back and look at the big picture type stuff, you know? And, you know, for me, that was the time when I was like, look, like it kind of goes back to when I was talking about that national tournament. Like I just took a big L. Like that was a major failure, you know, a mistake on my part. You know, what do? Do I just tuck my tail and disappear? Like, do I, you know, just pull myself from the fight game because it's so embarrassing? Like, what do? Do I, you know, anyways, what I decided to do was, you know, the outdoors, hunting, fishing has always been like an ultimate huge passion of mine. Fins and feathers was something I had talked about with my business partner, aka my really good buddy, for years. I'm like, look, I'm going to start this business. I have 2 years. I can't fight. Like, what am I going to do? Let's start Fins and Feathers. Let's blow this thing up. Let's start building a name in the outdoor industry. I can't fight forever anyways, even when this 2-year ban is up. Like when I'm done fighting, I want to do something in the outdoor industry. Let's start building a brand and start being known in the outdoor industry as much as I possibly can right now. So when I am done fighting, like the transition is smooth and I'm ready to go. So I poured my heart and soul into developing and getting all the legal stuff filled out for Fins and Feathers and growing it into the business and everything that it is right now. Over those 2 years, started pumping out different trips, traveling around, getting to meet cool clients, getting to go on some really cool hunts, bringing in new celebrities to be a part of it, like making new friends in that manner. You know, for me, the last 2 years was, for me, a huge eye opener in the world of Chad Mendes. Like, instead of tucking my tail and just disappearing and just like going into a deep hole and being depressed and sad, like I try to look at the positives in life and like, you know, I want to do something with my life outside of fighting when I'm done. That's the outdoor stuff. Let's grow something now. And that's what I did. You know, I feel like it's a successful business. I feel like I'm starting to make a name in the outdoor industry. But now I'm able to fight again. So being able to fight and be able to do stuff in the outdoor industry, like right now I'm just like
living
sitting pretty,
the dream.
So
Yeah.
Would you say that, because you and I have talked a lot about this in conversations about when all that was going down, and then to the point where we're having conversations about, I'm coming back, and the fight's here. I remember one consistent tone in all of mine and your phone calls, texts, and conversations over the years is Abby. Has she not been for you probably the best partner and person to have in your corner, especially during that time in your life?
Oh, hands down, man. Like, I know that there's probably a lot of girls in that situation, I'm dating a guy that fights in the UFC. Like, he's a number one contender fighting for the world title. And then this happens and they'd be like, peace.
Yeah.
And like for Abby to always be there in my corner and just being the voice of reason and being the one that's able to step back when I cannot see it and just look at the big picture and tell me about the big picture and where we want to go as a couple and what we want to do in life and how we want to grow a family, like, has been huge especially during that 2-year period. Yeah.
I just remember going to your wedding, and which was a really fun wedding.
It was fun.
Chad sends an invite, and just like my good buddy Chad's getting married to Chabby, the Chabby wedding, Chad and Abby. And so from my perspective, and that's the reason why I asked the question, and it's almost like I felt like I knew you were going to go there, because I remember so much talking with you about those years. And I even remember the call, and you were so like, man, I hope this doesn't hurt our relationship. And I just know who you are. I knew that it was a complete simple mistake. Like you said, you didn't do the full research. Obviously this new thing happens. At the end of the day, supported you 100% and wanted to see you do nothing but succeed and bounce back from this. And watching from my perspective where you've come from that moment to where you're sitting in this chair now, and then to be able to announce today, you have actually officially announced today that you and Abby are expecting,
yep.
And you guys are having a kid. And so you look at where your life is going. That to me is a really tall indicator of the actions that speak louder than words, the actions that you've taken in your life to, one, in your professional career, not only bounce back, win a fight, and now we're talking about Vegas cards and moving forward in that career, to being able to have a good balance of the outdoor community and your passion and love there and wanting to give back and be able to not only introduce people to it, but also help people have greater experiences doing it.
Of course.
To having a wife and managing that, to now you're going to have a son. I know you talk about you were afraid of fighting in the octagon. I think I've heard I'm as afraid to fight in the octagon as I am to be a dad now.
I'm terrified.
Which you shouldn't, because you're going to be amazing. You're going to be an amazing dad, just simply based on not only how you were raised, your mental state, mentality, the love you have for your wife that I can always feel and hear whenever you talk about her. You're going to put all of that same love and dedication that you have for a card and a fight as you are into a child. So I just think it's really cool, Chad. Your life's really fascinating. I think, and I
appreciate it.
I just, as a friend, appreciate what you do and what you stand for and what you believe, because your actions always, to me, have spoken a lot louder than the words that you've said and given, which is pretty cool.
Thanks, bro.
So appreciate you so much being on the podcast.
Yeah.
And coming out here. I know, it's fortunate you're here. We're actually going to go shoot some guns.
Yes, we
Make
are.
sure these puppies are dialed, because you got a big buck in Utah to find and some more meat to put in the freezer.
And this is a mule deer hunt. And you got how many days to do it?
5 days. 5 days. But the weather is supposed to drop big time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, and I've heard that these bucks are already starting to chase a little bit. So
that's pretty sweet.
Fingers crossed.
So then you're off to the camp, and then we'll be watching.
We'll be punching people in the face.
Back at it.
Back at it, yeah.
Chad Money Mendes, everybody.
Before we check out, I got one more tactical question for you. Talking about recovery and all the tactics that you use for fitness and all that. What is two things? How much sleep do you get each night? And then how much, what is the, your main, go-to food, like a meal that you kind of eat often?
So sleep, I try to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, honestly, if I can. typically it's like 8. But I'll nap midday. Like I said, try to get at least an hour in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's only like 30 minutes if I can, but hour each day during training camp, and then at least 8 hours. And then as far as food, it really just depends, where I'm at in my camp, what my weight's looking like, and then like what day it is in the week. So Wednesdays are our big spar days. Like that's the day that, in my opinion, is the hardest day of the week. Like our spar days, we spar MMA just one day a week, and that's Wednesday morning. So I want all the training that I'm doing in the week to revolve around that. I want that to be like the core workout. So that's the most important workout every single week in my mind. Like I want to be able to go into that workout and do everything I've been working on through this training camp, be able to do it against my sparring partners, and I want to feel great doing it. So I treat that like it's the fight.
For that.
Yep. I treat that like it's the fight. So like Tuesday night, I carb load. Like I will do a huge, usually like a ground elk pasta dinner or something where it's a marinara sauce with ground elk in it, some other type of veggies, but pasta, lots of carbs.
Gotcha.
And then I wake up that morning and I'll usually eat like a really big bowl of oatmeal. So normally I'll do like a half a cup oatmeal, or I'll do a full cup that morning.
You do really well on oatmeal.
Yeah, I do. Typically just before workouts, I'll do it. And then usually I'll do like 2 to 3 eggs, and then some kind of fruit as well. Maybe a banana. If I have watermelon is my absolute favorite. If I can cut up some watermelon the night before or something and just, eat like 2 cups of watermelon, a cup watermelon. So I'm like treating that. That's what I usually do fight day, like the day of I'll wake up, and that's kind of what I'll have for breakfast. So I try to emulate the exact same thing the night before. After I make weight, I usually do pasta, big carb load, tons of fluids, and then the morning of, wake up, big bowl oatmeal, eggs, fruit, and then a lunch before, which I don't have time to do that in between sparring, but the breakfast, go spar.
Gotcha. And then fluid wise, like electrolytes and stuff like that, is there any particular thing you like?
So if I start noticing that I typically drink 1 gallon to 2 gallons of water a day through my training camps.
Dang.
If I can't, sometimes even that's not enough. If I'm typically sweating out about 6 pounds of fluid in a workout.
Yeah.
If I'm doing 2, sometimes 3 workouts a day, like it's tough. Even with the 2 gallons, it's tough to keep up on it. So I'll add some type of like Gatorade, or sometimes you get the electrolyte pills,
the Nun tablets or something.
Yep, and just throw those in a water or something like that, and I'll add that. But typically, especially later in my training camp, it's just flushing with fluid as much as you can.
Cam turned me on to those salt caps.
Yeah.
And so I'll pound those when I'm hiking or I'm sweating a ton. It seems like I just can't keep water.
Yeah.
Like I just drink and I pee, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just completely depleted.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes too. And sometimes even when I'm working out, like the mats just look like someone just dumped buckets of water. And then a lot of my coaches are just like, what the hell is going on? But, sometimes in my body, I don't know what it is, but just flushes it pretty
Pedialyte, that's the other thing. I pound a lot. I want Mountain Oss to create like some kind of Pedialyte,
that would be
like electrolyte supplement. 'Cause that stuff, combined with some Nun tablets or salt caps, and then, I'll have a little bit of enduro.
Yep.
Mix kind of all. That's kind of the stuff I'll take. And I find though that I really respond well to Pedialyte.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in it exactly, but
I do that after making weight. I'll drink Pedialyte. Just to try to get those fluid, all the electrolytes and everything back in. But
I mean, I could drink a whole thing. I'll do the powdered mixes, but then I'll just buy the pre-mix stuff too. I'll drink that whole thing, and I won't pee. And then
hold on to it.
I drink some more, and I drink some more, and 2 or 3 days of that, and I feel really hydrated.
Nice.
Especially when I'm kind of just, for some reason, I think stress. Like, I need way more electrolytes to retain water when I hit a certain stress level, and it just stays that way for a while.
Crazy what all the stress hormones will do to your body.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't know.
It's nuts.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, that's awesome, dude. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. As always, stay gritty. Good luck.
Thanks, bro. Oh, I gotta pee so bad. Sorry.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place and time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.